Hey everyone, hope you're doing well on this lovely Friday, and kind of an important thing to talk about here today. There has been some complications that actually ended up coming out on Twitter from a specific team in particular that would have had to forfeit their points in the grid and basically start scratch due to scheduling. Psyonix actually took some pretty swift action with this. So in today's video, we're going to be breaking down what happened, why I think it's important, as well as what this kind of means moving forward. Again, if you guys have any questions, concerns, or feedback, comments down below. Make sure you guys make your voices heard, as well as while you're down there, if you enjoy the content, give the video a thumbs up, as well as making sure to hit subscribe and turning on notifications. But with that said, what ended up happening is one of the teams that has tried to break into the top 10 for quite a while now in 72 PC or 72 pin connector with Jacob, Tyler, and previously Wonder no longer on the roster and his LFT. But their coach ended up putting out this tweet. The trade window is after grid quals. This forces the thing we all hated, and that's an RLRS team making RLCS, then making a roster change. The only difference is Psyonix is the ones forcing that decision with bad behavior, not the teams making an immature decision. We were pretty confident that this was going to be happening before releasing Wonder, but I'll be damned if we qual for grid, then kick someone we respect. For that reason, we are fully disbanding our team and re-entering RLCS X with no points. This is our only word on this as a team. The whole reason this was a problem in the first place was due to scheduling conflict. Right now, the trade window is from October 26th all the way until November 1st. Originally, it was scheduled for 2 weeks starting on the 22nd, but that got changed due to COVID and the expansion of the majors that are starting this weekend, or technically today for South America, tomorrow for North America, and then Sunday for Europe, and that continues over the course of the weekend after. The problem was due to the scheduling and the time that they decided to do the open qualifier and the promotion bracket for the grid. For those that were unaware, there are 16 teams in the grid. 10 of them have already qualified due to placement in the fall split, but for the winter split, those final 6 spots are up for grabs. Teams got to compete through an open qualifier. The 6 teams that are trying to retain their spots and not get relegated are playing in that kind of promotion bracket, and the teams that promote through in the open, they battle it out, and the top 6 end up making it through for a chance to win up to, $90,000. It's a $10,000 tournament, 9 weeks. It's a pretty big deal for a lot of these teams that are aspiring to break in and get that consistent competition against some of the top teams. I honestly believe and can credit that to part of the reason why Kansas City Pioneers has had the surgence that they have. The difficulty of only being able to play against these other high-level teams once every 3 weeks, and if you perform well and make it into top 16 and otherwise, I mean, yeah, you might be able to get it back-to-back weeks, but again, I don't think a lot of these teams will scrim you unless you are consistently at that top spot, and it's hard to try to recreate when you're missing out on things like the grid. But other than just $90,000, it's also the potential, if you do perform very well week in and week out, I mean, that's a potential spot to guarantee yourself in the major. That's a pretty big deal. So not only was this just something that we should talk about in general, but before I could even start making this video for today, Psyonix at 3:30 p.m. yesterday ended up putting out a tweet that said this: Open qualifier update for the grid. We heard your feedback on the open qualifier and promotion bracket dates for the grid have been adjusted accordingly. Find the new dates and times below. So there's a couple things to break down in this. Number one, Psyonix is communicating about changes, and number two, they're making changes. Without getting into it too much, Psyonix has definitely had their complications when it comes to making the correct decisions or having the foresight to make the right rule sets or what it may be to avoid these situations from occurring in the first place. The thing is, I feel this community is very forgiving as long as 2 things happen. Number one, they're upfront about it, and 2, they communicate properly. And I think this is a really good step and continues to carry on what a lot of us have been feeling, I think, about Rocket League, especially on the esports side over the past 6 months. If you guys don't know, I put out a video called How to Fix Rocket League way back in March, and I talk and tackle about a lot of issues that I have about this game, and we'll be doing a follow-up video to that here shortly at the end of the year to kind of talk and see the contrast between what I said then and where we're at now, so stay tuned for that. But this feels like there's definitely been a big shift internally in the way that they approach things, the way that this team is developing and the way that they're handling things. I don't know if it's because the team itself is expanding or they're starting to realize how important these little things are. To a lot of people, they're never going to pay attention to this. To the general public, most people have no idea what this means, but to the ones that are competing, the ones that are aspiring to play in your tournaments, especially long-term veterans like Jacob, who have been to the World Championship numerous times and are one of the faces of this community, you're handling this, I think, the right way. And it makes a very big deal to those that if they are going to be putting into a tournament, little things like this do add up and make a big difference. So again, to reiterate, the big problem that was the trade window, the ability to change rosters and everything were happening after the qualifiers. Now they're happening before. You don't want to see a team qualify and then because they're unhappy with their results, even though yes, they did better this time, they drop a player and replace. A lot of people look back to what happened with the RBG situation with Aeon. The team that became Flight ended up promoting into the RLCS. They drop Aeon, and now they have all this animosity and turmoil and whatever the reason is in the public light, and it looks very poorly. But if teams are allowed to make their trades in the middle of this window and then go and try to fulfill and keep their spot as if they are actively trying to make changes, and that is the reason rather than we've made it, we get rid of this guy and now replace, it just looks significantly better. I guess the biggest thing I'm curious about is, did this organization or did Josh from 72PC contact Psyonix privately behind the scenes and say, hey, was this something that you ended up approaching ahead of time and gave Psyonix proper notice about like, when is this situation going to happen? The difficulty though is obviously we didn't know when these qualifiers or when these matches were going to happen for quite a while. So maybe there's a little bit of a last minute notice situation, but again, I'm glad to see that, yes, something was made public. Changes came from it relatively quickly. There was an announcement that informed the public, and now we're able to move on, and everybody's sunshine and rainbows, which is great. You're starting to see things handled, I think, better and at a faster rate for the Rocket League esports scene coming from the Psyonix team, and I'm probably most happy about that. So glad to see that things keep transitioning into a positive light. And credit again to the esports team. Even if the initial decision wasn't the correct one, at least they remedied the situation before it's too late. With that said, there has been some roster changes that have also gone down. Nameseekers, the team that Taz, when he was previously with the Monkeys, ended up going over to with Blurry and Cash. They're no longer with Cash. They're now called Testament and are now competing in the field with Melo Shisu, which is former Solary. SeaBass, the sub of Kansas City Pioneers, has also left. There's a lot of speculation because he was caught playing in ranked with one of the players from 72PC that he might be going there. RixGG will be benching apparently Jack, one of their star players. Reasons as to why are not public, and they will be playing with their sub Clean in the Grid qualifiers, while Magnus will play for them in the field. That is going to wrap it up for today's news. Tomorrow we will have the top 5 teams for Europe that are most likely to win the major, so stay tuned for that. But that is going to wrap it up for me today, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.